Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. Today's video is one that I've been meaning to do, and it's actually been requested by multiple people. So I'm going to kind of cover some of the security slash automation features that we built into our 2023 Ford Transit van conversion build that we did. And if you haven't watched the video on the conversion, I did like a wrap-up video that kind of shows a tour of the whole thing, and then there's a whole build series on every step of the way. So be sure to check out the links in the description for all of that stuff. I also have links in the description for some of the products I use in this, because I know some of you will probably ask for them. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and open her up here. Alright, so real quick, we have a Victron Serbo GX, and this is just for our battery monitoring and solar monitoring and charging and all of that. So it works really good. We use it for inverter control also. As you can see, there's a little bit of automation going on here. So for instance, this says network. It's got a degree, 69 degrees. Inside temperature, 70.4. Refrigerator, 66. Outside, 77. And then below that, we've got our freshwater tank. And right now, everything's parked and empty. Gray water tank and propane. So if you're not familiar with the whole world of Victron, I think it's the best, but I'm running something called GUI mods on my Serbo GX, and it's what adds a lot of this extra information. So normally that would not be there. So if you look, I also have some of my relay control built in here. So basically what I have is I have on relay 1 on my Victron Serbo GX, this is a manual control. You can see I press it, turns this light on. What that does is that turns on the tank heaters. Okay, so when it's cold out, I want to have control over it for battery consumption reasons, but that turns on the tank heater for my gray water tank. That's the only thing that's exposed underneath. So that's nice to have. And then relay 2, I will show you in just a minute, controls the fan automatically for the network cabinet. Alright, so real quick. So for my fresh water and my gray water, I'm using conventional, like marine style water tank sensors. So they're meant to be used in fuel tanks. They have a magnet that rides up and down on like a float, and they send a resistance value to the Serbo GX. And those are hardwired via wire runs to the Serbo. Now everything else is Bluetooth. So for instance, my tank sensor for propane is a Mopica Pro. It uses Bluetooth low energy, and they're meant to be, you can actually use them on water tanks. If we look under here, the bottom of this little propane tank, you can see it has magnets, and it uses, basically it uses sonar to read the level in the tank. And like I said, these can get an adapter, and you can use them actually on your water tank using sonar. Now, I don't know how well it works, you know, with it sloshing around and all that, but you know, for me, I'd already wired up those, so some of this wireless stuff was an afterthought kind of, so it made it very easy. Now the temperature sensors, they are called Ruvi tags, and there's a couple different, there's a 4-in-1, and then there's a 2-in-1 and the 3-in-1. So the ones I have in the van, you can see here's one of them right here. It's just this little white disc. It has a battery in it. It lasts a really long time. You set these up on your phone ahead of time. So this just measures the temperature in here. This is what I call the network cabinet. You see, it's just one of our cabinets that's split. We've got some pans on this side, and this is the security stuff I'll be talking about in just a second. So there's how that works. In the fridge, if we look, I have another one mounted to the shelf here. I have another one mounted behind the TV. That way it doesn't get like a sun load on it. That's for the internal temperature. And then last but not least, alright, so the outdoor one, you can see it's mounted to the van underneath, basically underneath the step to get out. That way it's not directly affected by heat from exhaust or anything underneath, or from outdoor heat. Now the problem with these, when they are mounted on the outside of the van, they are really affected by the metal structure. So can see it's just right here to down under there. So that is close enough that I don't have problems. When I first mounted it, I mounted it a little further back under the van, and it could not, the signal could not reach because it's like a big Faraday cage in here. So that's something to keep in mind. So that's great. I can see all this stuff remotely. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the Victron ecosystem, but you can monitor this all remotely and control everything remotely from an app on your phone or from a computer. So now let's get into some of the fun security stuff. So when I wired the van, I kind of pre-wired everything. Obviously, if you saw it in the videos, and all the security stuff kind of came to this area here. So in here we have our own power distribution system. It's just fused from a larger fuse in my bigger power distribution area here. It runs over to this, and we can break it down into smaller stuff. So right here, this is a MoFi 4500 router. I had this from previous projects. MoFi has a lot of new stuff now, but this is an LTE router with its own built-in Wi-Fi. Works very well. It's business class. Like it automatically reboots if you lose coverage. Really good range. I have it running to some external antennas on the roof. So this creates a Wi-Fi network within and outside of the van, which is really nice. So works a lot of places that my cell phone won't, just due to the external antennas. Plugged into that, we have this DVR. So this is actually made by a company called Anki. Anki, I think you describe is how you say it. They actually just kind of rebrand this stuff for sale here in the United States. This is actually made by a larger company called HIK Vision. They're a very, very popular worldwide company that makes security DVR components, camera systems, cameras, everything you can think of when it comes to security and camera systems. Now, this is not designed for a van, but it works perfect in a van because most of their systems are much larger. They have hard drives that spin. It's not good to drive down the road on a bumpy road with a hard drive. Since this uses an SSD drive, it uses much lower power, and it can handle the bumps that go along with being in a mobile application. It's also very small. You see it takes up hardly any space, and all of our connections are made on the back. It does have HDMI, composite video output, a VGA output, basically anything you would need. There's no audio input analog on this one since it's so small, but it does support what's called coaxitron, or it will support cameras that have built-in audio. So this supports all the different formats: TVI, AHD, just regular composite video input, and CVI as well. So you can pretty much put any kind of camera on here. So what I chose to do is put cameras on the four corners of the van. So basically, in the front, I've got two cameras mounted right here in the windshield. On the two sides of the van, I have these white cameras here. Now these are meant to be backup cameras or front grille cameras in an automobile application. And they're very small, and they're white, and they blend in, and that's why I bought them, because I did not want these big nasty cameras hanging off the van. I didn't want it to be very obvious. So in the back, see, there's a total of 3 cameras going across here. One's the factory backup camera, one is part of the security system cameras, and the third one runs to the head unit up front and is just a auxiliary video feed that I can pull up all the time that is not related to the factory backup camera. And I'll show you how that works in a few minutes. Again, come around to the side, next to our vent for the bathroom, we have our other camera. Very slick, blends right in. Just so you can get a shot at what it kind of looks like in the front here. Can't really even tell they're there. And they are on the outside of the window covers when they're up, so you can see them. So let's talk about cameras for a minute. If you want to put cameras on your van, you basically got 2 options. You have like a home security style camera, which is very large, pretty ugly. A lot of people mount it like up on like a roof rack. That's kind of a good way to hide it. with a camera like that, it can have infrared on it, which is good. So at night, you can still have a black and white view of what's going on around the van. There really are not any infrared cameras that are small enough to be hidden like that, because the LEDs that make the infrared light make the camera much larger. So that's something to consider. In my case, these cameras work really good if there's any amount of light. So even the tiniest bit of light outside, even if you have a bright moon at night, they work. But if there is no real ambient light, you can't see in the dark with these. So that's the one drawback. I did do something to address that though, which I'll show you here in a second. But that's your kind of like your choices. Do you want this big ugly camera but it works better, or do you want it slick and to blend in? So I kind of chose the slick blend in route. And so here on the monitor you can see the 4 camera views, and just like anything, there's a mouse. I can flip the TV around so I can see it, and I can make, you know, any changes that I need to from here. That's really only needed just to set it up though. So real quick while we're in here, so like I said, if it gets too hot in here, I have it set that if it gets over 100 degrees, the servo reads that, automatically switches on this fan here via the relay and the servo. And then what that does, doesn't look like it does much, but there's just a little vent over here. But what that does is that pulls air when these are shut. There's a little bit of a gap here. That just forces air to come through here and get blown around. And it's still not, it's not so loud that, you know, if you're in here, it's gonna really annoy you. So basically, I have my outputs from this that I had to run when we were building the van. Obviously, I have a VGA cable running here. Now you could do HDMI just as easy. It's just kind of up to you, you know, what kind of input you have on here. I just kind of set the VGA in there when I was building it, so I kind of had to run with it. You can see, you know, you don't have to have that on. It's nice. If you're sitting in here and you have all the window covers on and you're watching TV, you can just flip over to this real quick and kind of see what's happening outside. All right, so the next thing here, I'll show you. There's multiple ways to view this. We have this monitor right here. And just put a little piece of painter's tape because there's a light that comes on. It was kind of annoying at night, but flip this monitor on. You see, so lying in bed, you can see those same 4 camera views. This is so, you know, at night, you're sleeping, you hear something outside. Maybe if you're in like a truck stop or campground or something where there's a little bit of light, you're gonna see easily what's going on. If not, this is where I decided I needed to address the situation. I did not like the fact that I could not see at night, so I put perimeter lighting around the van, which is controlled by this switch here. So I flip that on, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. It's very bright. Basically, it's like putting on the stadium lights. It gives me enough light to see all the way around the van, even though there's no light dedicated to the front. Just enough light gets thrown out that I can see what's happening. So again, this was a composite video feed that I used on the conversion. I misspoke a minute ago when I said this has a composite video output. What it has is the HDMI, and I just use an HDMI to composite video converter to power that small monitor there. But you could do it the other way. You could run HDMI to your TV and have a VGA to composite converter for a little monitor like that. But again, I'll have links for all this stuff in the description. All right, so outdoor lighting. Obviously, I have, you know, an awning light here. I have lights under the van down here, and I have a switch for just the porch light here, which is great. But we wanted that security lighting system. It is a remote fed relay that I have mounted back here in the electronics compartment. And you saw there was the remote by the bed there. That's actually got batteries in it and a remote control, but it's a wall mount. And I also have these little remotes here. Basically, I just have power from, you know, our lighting feed, and then it runs through the floor and out to this light here. You can see, super bright light. back here that I mounted in the hitch. Do not use any towing on the van, so I removed the wiring for the hitch for now and just put it in there. It just kind of looks a little slicker. Over here on this side, this is I needed something really slick because I wanted it to tuck up under here. I did not want it to be obvious at all. And the best thing I could find was this Whalen light right here. It's super bright, and it's the smallest footprint I could find. You can see it just tucks right up under there. It really pumps the light out of this side of the van. Now, as far as this side goes, there was no real reason to put anything else over here, so I just made it so when I press the button, it turns on the porch light. And basically, I just diode protected this circuit that there was no backfeeding. You know, when you turn on the regular porch light, just isolated it with a diode, ran a wire back to that relay, and then backfed this light with power that along with all the other ones. So what's nice about this is if you're sitting out at night, get your chairs out, and maybe you're just sitting around a fire or something, you kind of hear something in the woods or something like that, just hit the lights real quick. You can see, it lights up the campsite pretty good, and you can see what's happening. Again, just all about security. I know this one doesn't look very bright in the daytime, but it really lights up around the camper really nice at night. I'm really happy with how that came out. Again, I'm always trying to be budget conscious, you know, so but I like how everything ties in. So I'll give you an example. So this is the Joying stereo that I installed. It's 12-inch. It's aftermarket. I actually like it much better than the factory Ford Sync 3, Sync 4 system that they put in these, because I really like having the separate controls for the HVAC. It's really annoying to try to do that stuff on screen. You still can control it with this if you want, but I really like this much better. So I installed that. Again, on here, I've got an auxiliary camera feed. That's the one I was talking about in one of the back ones. We also have the factory backup camera as well, which you can pull up on Joying's AR camera system here. So that's the front, one of these two front ones. Kind of duplicated stuff here, but this is a dash camera for you're driving down the road. You know, it's recording everything that's happening. There's the rear, that's the factory rear backup camera there. So it does record those, but the problem with the Ford system, which is why I have that third camera back there, is that as soon as you start going over, I think it's 5 miles an hour, it cuts the feed to the back camera. Okay. And then also I installed on here, this is on the local Wi-Fi network. It's called, here's the LTS Connect app. Again, LTS is just another rebranded HIK Vision product. So pretty much use whatever you want. But this has all my cameras for my home, the vehicle, everything. I'm signed into the account. Just locally though, you see it says local. If I click on this, it pulls up the 4 cameras in the van. You can see, so just around the van. What's nice, this records for days. You can set it up to record just AI events like people and vehicles. Obviously, you're going down the road, it's recording pretty much non-stop because there's so much stuff happening. But it's nice. It's a way to keep track of what's going on. If anything happens, you know, if you're in an accident or something like that, it's recorded. I've got it recorded twice on a dash camera and on here, but this has all sides, everything that's going on, which I really like. Same app on my phone, so I can be anywhere. So this is where it's really nice. You can be away from the van and pull it up. No problem. See what's going on. Again, if you add one of the HD-TVI cameras, the HIK Vision cameras that has the audio feed, you could even put it in the van if you want. I don't really recommend having cameras in your van, but maybe just while you're not in here, you want to pull it out, maybe put it on like a magnetic mount. Maybe if you got a dog or something in the van that you want to keep an eye on, it'd be a great way. Just put it up here real quick. It would support the audio. You could pull it up on here, hear what's going on. This will send you notifications if you choose, if it detects a person or a vehicle, just depending on, you know, how you have it set up. Not really going to cover that, but really robust system and very inexpensive. So again, I'll put a link in this description. We're talking, you know, a couple $100 for all this stuff. That's it. Now, if you wanted to buy just a mobile DVR and you try to start looking those up, they are thousands of dollars, you know, for a commercial grade for mobile DVR. So I kind of think this is a neat budget hack way to do this. It still works really, really, really good. I don't think these were intended for this, but it's an excellent application for that Anki DVR. All right, so hopefully I did not just cause you to have way more questions than answers with this video. I know it was kind of quick, but I just wanted to give everyone an overview of exactly, you know, the system that I used. The only thing we kind of don't have is an actual security system. I mean, the van has an alarm system that, you know, will honk the horn and flash the lights if someone breaks into the van. So there's that. But, you know, something that would like actually alert you or call you when you're away. That would be something to maybe think about in the future. Since we're in here most of the time, that's not really necessary, in my opinion. But for some of you, it might be, especially if you go on a lot of trips where you leave the van parked and you want to know if, you know, there's an entry into the vehicle. It would be very easy to do. Again, maybe it's something I'll do in the future. If I do, I'll be sure to make a video about how I did it. But right now, it's not really a priority for us. All right, so if you have any questions or comments, really look forward to helping you guys out, answer any questions I can. Be sure to like the video if it helped you out. There'll be links in the description to everything I used in the system to build it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.